Last year, the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank distributed 24 million pounds of food. On average, about 1 out of every 7 people in our local area will face hunger this year. Dan Flowers, President and CEO of the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank, joins us with details on how this nonprofit organization is helping those in need. And welcome to the program, Dan.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. It's great.
So for our viewers who are unfamiliar with how you operate, how do you acquire donated food and how do you get it to those in need?
Okay, just like a very basic overview. The Akron Canton Regional Food Bank is the source of food for over 500 soup kitchens, homeless shelters, and food pantries across the region. They get pretty much all their food from the food bank. We pick up food from local wholesalers, food manufacturers, distributors, and bring it back to our warehouse where we then distribute it to charities who ultimately give that food to people in need. Food banking in this country evolved in the late 60s. It started, and over the years it's grown to be one of the nation's largest charitable responses to hunger. Food banking is all based on the premise that there's a lot of food available that can be captured, rescued from waste, and good, healthy food that could be distributed to people in need. That was the idea, and certainly food banks have sort of grown from that as a way to capture surplus from the grocery industry and turn it into opportunities for a better community.
How many people do you feed a year in our area?
The scale is really extraordinary. I mean, we'll serve about 180,000 different individuals a year. I mean, that's a huge number. It tracks very, very similar to the number of people that live in poverty in the region. Certainly poverty is the prime driver for hunger. If people have enough money, they go and get their own food, and they don't come to a food pantry to get food, in most cases. Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. We'll distribute between 100 and 150,000 pounds of food a day. That goes out across the region through an army of volunteers that are working at primarily faith-based agencies. It's a beautiful thing. There's so much food available in the grocery industry. You think about, fields full of crops that are plowed over every year that don't ultimately make it to people in need. It happens all the time. Billions and billions of pounds of food. Still, every year, it goes to waste. Food banking is one way of capturing good, healthy, nutritious food and distributing it to people. And, certainly now we get a lot of food from the USDA and other sources, but surplus food from local wholesalers, manufacturers, and distributors is still our primary source of food.
They added too much salt or the wrong stamp on the product, and they don't want to sell it in the grocery stores,
sure,
essentially?
It may be variations in supply and demand. It may be, maybe a labeling error that may occur. And really the scale is quite extraordinary. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to get, multi-truckloads of food donated to us. And national manufacturers will sometimes make 100 to 200 semi-loads of certain products available to food banks around the country in one phone call. It's that big.
That's amazing. I think sometimes for the general public, the perception is that if you're getting donated food from the food bank, it's canned food, boxed items. But I understand you guys are really going after fresh produce for people. Can you tell us about that and how maybe some of our viewers can help with that?
Yeah, well, certainly, we're committed to nutrition, and we know that there's a lot of correlations in our community to negative public health outcomes when people do not have access to the food that they need. As you said, 1 in 7 people across the region experience food insecurity during the course of a year. That manifests in a lot of ways. I mean, I think most of us have somebody in our family probably that when they don't eat, it's kind of hard to deal with. People get grumpy. And it sort of erodes this issue or this perception that, being poor or being hungry is like this tidy little, the meek poor. I mean, it stinks to be in poverty and to not have enough food to eat. It creates tension in people's lives. And so, food in general obviously is our business. Nutritional food is a really important thing. Over the years, we've, emphasized the procurement and distribution of produce in increasing numbers. Last year, we distributed over 6.5 million pounds of nutritious fresh produce, grown primarily by Ohio farmers. Every year, the General Assembly gives about $14.5 million to the 12 food banks in Ohio to go to farmers across the state that are growing more produce than they can sell in the regular market. And a lot of times the farmers call it food bank grade, number 2s, the apples that you wouldn't buy at Walmart. That's another thing. I mean, we hold retailers to a pretty ridiculous quality standard in the produce that's acceptable, right? I mean, there's a lot of great produce that goes to waste just because people don't like the shape of the apple or the tomato or the onion. Fortunately, that comes to us. And so we distribute millions of pounds of that and we give it away.
And you have the Plant a Row program that someone like me who's having a garden in my backyard, can you tell our viewers about that? We can plant a few extras and donate it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great ways to be involved with the food bank. Every year we have people that will plant a little extra in their garden and bring it into us, and we always give it away that same day. Now, every day off our dock we'll give away 10 to 15,000 pounds of fresh produce and perishable items. Now, that typically are in the hands of people in need that night or the next day. I mean, it's very rapid distribution of products that we've got systems to accommodate. So yeah, I welcome anyone to plant an extra row. And it's a good time to be thinking about the spring anyway right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Winter we've had,
Don't you love those when people from work will bring in like tomatoes from their garden? Hey, I got extra. They just taste so much better than the grocery store tomatoes.
You bet. You bet.
So how can people help if they want to volunteer for the food bank?
Well, the best thing to do is visit our website, akroncantonfoodbank.org. We've got a great, robust website full of tips and advice about ways that you can get involved if you want to volunteer. We had over 7,000 volunteers last year come in and give their time at the food bank. And we always need more. We have mountains of food that are waiting your hands to come and process and move through. Food drive food is a great example of stuff that we have to be really careful with. Although we're really grateful for the donation, we have to be very careful about the safety. We have a pretty rigorous food recall program, so we're always on guard for that. And so we need volunteers that want to come and spend some time in our warehouse. We've got a great bunch of people. I mean, it's a wonderful place to be. The food bank is the best. I mean, we've got great people, a great mission, a great cause, a great return on your investment. For every dollar you give, we provide 4 meals to people in need because, as I've said, this is surplus food.
Yeah.
And it's given to us. And our charities that we work with are almost all volunteers. And so there's no one getting paid in that network. Very rarely, almost all of our charities have no paid staff. So there's volunteers coming to the food bank, rescuing surplus food, and giving it away to people that are struggling, with an average income of $630 a month.
Wow.
So, I mean, it hits on every cylinder. It's beautiful. Come visit us. Visit akroncantonfoodbank.org. And we'd love to give you a tour, and you can learn more about getting involved.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. We enjoyed having you on our show. You're a ball of energy.
That flew by.
We'll be right back with more Mind, Body, and Spirit.